Okay, so this next part is on division of integers. So here the same rules apply as for dividing whole numbers, except now we have some negatives. So the key difference is we have the like and unlike signs. So it's going to be kind of similar to our multiplication, and where we have this time a positive divided by a negative, well, that gives us a negative. So if, for instance, 20 divided by negative 4, well, we know it's going to be negative, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. And again, if you need to do the long division, that's fine. 4 times what is 20? Well, that's 5. 20, we subtract that off, we get 0. Okay? And if we divide a negative by a positive, we get a negative. So in this case, we put the negative on top instead of the bottom. And so we know we're going to get a negative, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. Okay, and again, if you need to take 6 into 42, well, 6 times what? Well, 6 times 7 is 42. We subtract that, we get 0. All right, so here now we have like terms. So we have plus divided by a plus, or positive divided by positive is going to be a positive. So 21 divided by 7, hopefully everybody can see that that is 3. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And so this divided by this, well, those basically cancel. And we have 14 divided by 7, which is 2. And then we have our normal division by 0. So if a is an integer, then a divided by 0 is undefined. So we still can't divide an integer by 0. It's undefined. And so no matter what value or what kind of a number a is, dividing by 0 is always going to be undefined. So what we're going to do is we're just going to simplify some of these examples. So what about this first one? So we have a negative 16 divided by a negative 8. Well, maybe what we need to do for some people is to rewrite this as this: negative 16 divided by a negative 8. Sometimes this is an easier way to look at it. Well, now we have a negative divided by a negative, so we know we have a positive number. And now we can say, well, 16 divided by 8 is what? Well, that's going to be 2. And so we get 2 for our answer here. Now the next one, 40 divided by a negative 20. Well, I have a positive divided by a negative, which tells me my answer is going to be negative. And so now I just have to take 40 divided by 20. Well, that's going to go 2 times. That'll give me 40. Subtract that off, I get 0. And so I get a negative 2 because I had the negative from the denominator and 2 for the actual division. All right, what about dividing this one? 2 divided by 0. Well, if we remember, we just did that. That's undefined. Now let's skip down to the bottom one. And here we have 0 divided by a negative 4. Well, what's that going to be? Well, if you have no parts of the pie and you divide no parts by 4, you still have no parts. And so it's going to be 0. And even though we're dividing by a negative 4, 0 doesn't ever take a sign, positive or negative, and so we just keep that as 0. All right, so now what we have is a negative divided by a positive. Here we had a positive divided by a negative, but in either case, our final answer is going to be negative. And 28 divided by 28, well, that's just 1. And so that would be your answer there. So now we've answered all of these and we've simplified them, and then we found the one that was undefined, okay? All right, what about this one? It's a kind of a application word problem. So an investing club of 5 friends has lost $4,400 on the trade. If they share the loss equally, write each member's loss as an integer. Well, if they lost money, they've got a negative number. So it's actually negative $4,400. That's where they're at. They invested that much, they lost it, and so it's gone, and so their bank account shows a negative $4,400 if that's how they did it. Now they want to share the loss equally between each member. Well, there was 5 of them, so we're going to take basically a negative 4,400 divided by 5 to get the loss shared equally. Well, what do we know about that? Well, that's going to be a negative divided by a positive, so I'm going to have a negative. And because I know my units, I better put the units back in here as well. And now I just have to take 5 into 4,400 to get my answer. So now all I'm doing is getting this part here with the dollar sign out in front and the negative in front of that. Well, 5 does not go into 4, but 5 goes into 44. Well, 5 times 8 is 40. If I subtract that, 4 minus 0 is 4. Now I have to bring down a 0. Well, that's another 8. That's 40. Subtract that, that's 0. Bring down a 0. Well, 5 doesn't go into that, so that's 0. So it looks like each person lost $880. And so that would be then my answer for how much each member loses as a loss as an integer. So, we have that negative 880, and then we have to have the dollar sign because that's kind of the units for this problem. They lost that many dollars. So this one, a diver goes down 25 feet. So we're going to assume, let's start drawing a picture so we know where we're at. He's on, I don't know, a lake or something like that, or maybe the ocean. And he's going to go down 25 feet to start with. All right. So if this is 0, this is negative, not 24, 25. So this is negative 25. Okay, so these are just kind of our units. Now it says the second diver then dives 6 times further than the first diver. So they go way down here. And this is going to be basically the 6 times the 25 feet. And so that's going to be 6 times a negative 25. Okay. And what we want to do is write the final depth of the diver as an integer. So all that means is we have to solve this problem. So what that means is we're going to take 25 times 6. So 5 times 6 is 30. Carry the 3. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 3 is 15. And we know it's a negative, so it's going to be a negative 150, and the units are feet. So that would be how far that second diver dived down, would be the negative 150 feet. Okay. Again, you just have to kind of sometimes draw a picture to see what it is. And we went down 25 feet. And so what does that mean? Well, from 0, it's going down, it's negative 25. And then this one's 6 times that, so we're taking 6 times the negative 25. And once we do that multiplication, we get our value. All right, so that's all I have here.